Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our 5th edition of the Digital Fundraising Summit. My name is Lisa Shamet. I'm the Head of Partnerships at Charity Digital, and I will be your host for today. So very warm welcome. We're delighted that over 1,800 charity professionals from all over the world have signed up to attend this jam-packed 2 days event to find inspiration on the future of fundraising and what this means for them and their organization. At Charity Digital, we have become increasingly aware of the need for the sector to try something new, look towards the future, to be agile, and to understand how to overcome the challenges of experimenting with new fundraising techniques whilst having to juggle with limited resources and an increase in demand for services. Last year's Digital Fundraising Day, as it was known, addressed how to maximize your charity's income. And it was exceptionally important as we as a sector were being hit by the cost of living crisis. Now, in addition to economic challenges, pressure on services still very much present, we also have noticed the wider use of artificial intelligence. And in a busy fundraising landscape, there's the ever-increasing need for effective donor stewardship. Yes, your charity and your mission need to be remembered by all the stakeholders and the donors. We feel it's important to support you all, whether you are charity fundraisers, marketers, or leaders, anything in between, and whether you are new or a seasoned professional, you all strive to remain forward-looking for your mission. Across our 12 sessions, here are some of the things we hope that you will enjoy today and tomorrow. We have a very exciting panel session, which I'm going to be part of in a few minutes, on the impact of AI on the charity sector from a fundraiser perspective, or how to become a ChatGPT ninja in 30 minutes. We'll also discuss how to engage with the Gen Z donor in the new generous generation, as it's known. We will hear from first-hand experience from charity leaders on using the right tech or how to adapt fundraising techniques in a challenging environment. Finally, we'll also see, how to maximize donations and conversion funnels using tools such as WhatsApps and contactless donation devices for better fundraising results. So there's a lot of sessions which we hope you will find interesting. Whether you've joined us last year or you are completely new to Digital Fundraising Summit, we're glad to have you with us today. We're very grateful to offer this online conference with the support of our partners and sponsors, including our headline sponsor, Salesforce. As you may or may not know, we are a registered charity ourselves, and our mission is to drive the charity sector forward with digital tools and resources. So what do? Basically, we provide charities with discounted software and hardware from some of the largest and biggest tech companies. And some of what we do is even free. We also have a wide range of content and insights covering many topics. Again, everything is free for you to access. And these include webinars, podcasts, articles, and online conferences like this one. You can find out more about what we do and how we can help you and your organizations by visiting our virtual booth in a partner section. And I'll shortly explain how you can get there. You will notice that today and tomorrow's session are going to take place on Hubilo. That's where we are now. You have created your profile ahead of joining today. So just make sure that you have perhaps added a profile picture or your job title so it's easier for everybody to interact with each other and make the best of these 2 days. At the top of your screen, next to the lobby icon on the sessions tab, you will see that's the little calendar icon. You can find the agenda of the day and add each of the sessions you're interested in to your personal schedule. In the partner section, the little house icon, you will find more information and charity sector insights from ourselves, Charity Digital, our speakers and our partners, so that you can check them out during the breaks. Finally, in the networking sessions, which is a little armchair icon, you'll be able to meet and chat with everyone else. So you can click also on the attendees tab and start a conversation. So you are now in our first session of the day, and you'll notice on your right the live chat feature. So I'd love to know where you are all joining us from today and what you are looking forward to learning about. During each session, please use the live chat feature to share your tips and your thoughts with everybody. You will also see the Q&A button, which is where you can ask all of your questions during the presentation or the panel discussions. And we will answer them in the last 5 to 10 minutes of each of our sessions. In case we haven't had a chance to answer all of the questions, you can either reach out to the speakers directly afterwards, by looking them on the attendees tab. And if they're not available, we make sure that all questions are collected and shared with them post-event. We'd love to hear what you're thinking of the event. So if you like to share on social media, please do use the hashtag Charity Digital Summit on X, formerly Twitter, and LinkedIn. Now, just before going into our keynote panel session, I'd like to run through a few house rules. The session is being recorded, and the recording, slides, and additional resources will be made available on demand for 30 days post-event. So don't worry if you join halfway or anything, you'll be able to watch everything on demand. Closed captions are available, and we will shortly share it in the chat how to enable these. During the presentation, as I said, please ask loads of questions in a Q&A session. We will address them at the end, and then feel free to share any other comments or top tips in the live chat section. Finally, obviously, the joy of being online is that sometimes, internet can drop out or anything. So if you encounter any sound or image issue, please let us know in the chat, and we will do our very best to get the session back to normal as soon as possible. Well, now, let's get started with our first session of Digital Fundraising Summit. And I hope you're ready, because this is going to be a very exciting and hopefully super insightful panel conversation. Is your charity grappling with issues related to operational inefficiencies, limited time resources, and the need to produce better fundraising results? Well, hopefully today's discussion will be helpful, as we'll go in depth how artificial intelligence, AI, will affect us as a sector, as charities fundraising team. And hopefully our conversation will help us understand how we can apply it practically to our operations and how it can revolutionize our fundraising strategies. I am very much looking forward to be joined by Lucy Squants, who is Director of Supporter-Led Fundraising at Alzheimer's Research UK. Good morning, Lucy. Warm welcome to you. And please give us a brief intro about who you are and what you do.
Good morning and thank you. Yeah, as you said, I am Lucy, Director of Supporter-Led Fundraising and Digital at Alzheimer's Research UK. We are the UK's leading dementia research charity, and we have a huge mission, and that's to accelerate progress towards a cure. Sadly, 1 in 2 people will be affected by dementia, either through caring for a loved one, developing it themselves, or horrifically both. It's a joy to be here. I think just one caveat I want to say up front, I am no AI expert, but I'm probably, like many of you, throwing myself into learning, and I'm hugely passionate about the potential of AI tools and how they can accelerate progress for the charity sector. So thank you, Lisa.
This is great. Well, thank you very much, Lucy, and looking forward to hearing all your tips and experience. Our second panelist is Sophie Green, Director for the Non-Profit Cloud Industry Solutions from Salesforce. Again, a very warm welcome to you, and please give us a little bit more details about yourself and your work.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I will say thank you for the housekeeping, because I got thrown out a couple of times just before. So if I stop working, let me know. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it stays on. But great to be here. I am, like Lisa said, Sophie Green from Salesforce, and I lead our non-profit products and solutions across Europe. which means I have a hugely privileged role of working with customers like Lucy, and customers of all shapes, sizes and causes across Europe to really say, how can we better help them meet their goals and their mission?
Yeah.
So with that, Lisa, shall I take it away?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, what I want to do is start with thank you. We always do that at Salesforce, and we do that because you could be in a million different places this morning, and we really appreciate that you're here with us, spending really valuable time. Like Lucy almost has referenced, there's so much on AI. None of us are experts because a lot of it's new, and so we're here to learn together, and we're really pleased that you've joined us to do that. So thank you for being here. And also, I need to include a Salesforce forward-looking statement. Please don't try and read all the small print. My eyesight isn't physically good enough to read all the small print. I will summarize this for you. What this is saying is that Salesforce is a publicly traded company. So please make any purchasing decisions that you have on products that are live and available today. That is it for the small print, I promise. I am very conscious, though, that not everyone will be familiar with Salesforce, so bear with me as I give just a brief overview on who we are, and then we will jump into the session. So for those who are less familiar, Salesforce's sort of central belief is that business is the greatest platform for change, and we're really focused on providing solutions that provide for the unique needs of nonprofits. We've worked in the sector for over 20 years, and I think that leads to the slightly mind-blowing number that we're working with over 50,000 nonprofit organisations today. And I've been at Salesforce for a couple of years, having come from the nonprofit sector. And something that makes me pretty proud of what we do is we really work together as a community. So we do things like community sprints. We actually do open code development, lots of different areas to make sure that we can really push the boundaries of what tech can do for us. And this year, super exciting year for us from a product perspective, in that we've launched a full new end-to-end product called the Nonprofit Cloud, which meets the full lifecycle needs of nonprofits. And I think really relevant for today is the huge step forward from a fundraising perspective. So enhanced capabilities on mass and individual giving and operational enhancements. So just a little bit about Salesforce, and I would just draw your attention at the bottom on the blue piece, which is for any qualified nonprofit. If you want to explore, a great way to do that is for the 10 free licenses, and you can tap me up and explore that later if it's of help and of interest. But let's look from an AI perspective. Salesforce as well has been involved in AI for a really long time. I think you can see a ton going on the next slide. But since 2014, we have been investing in AI. And what we call our in-house AI is Einstein. Hence, you can see that a Einstein figure on the top right. That's our native AI that's baked into every product, that scarily delivers more than 1 trillion predictions a week. I don't know if I even know what 1 trillion means anymore, but 1 trillion predictions a week to customers. So we're seeing insane things happening with AI. I'm really excited about the potential, and also very focused on an added trust layer, making sure that we treat data appropriately. So for Salesforce, it's all about data plus AI plus CRM plus trust. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Lisa to kick us off.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Sophie. And actually, let's get us started. I thought perhaps it'd be good to take perhaps a step back. I know we're here to talk about AI as a way to revolutionize fundraising, but first, we feel we need to understand the key challenges fundraising teams are facing today. And as a start, Lucy, working in a fundraising team, can you give us a little bit of insight into perhaps what day-to-day operations and challenges look like for you?
Yeah, so actually, like Salesforce, I've been in the sector now for 20 years. I started my career at Cancer Research UK. And as fundraisers, we've continued to see challenges. So in some ways, this isn't new, but it is the continual challenges that we face. So the current economic and political climate, they're all having an impact as people are feeling worse off with increased interest rates and inflation. Many charities and who invest in marketing are feeling that crunch as well, as with increasing costs as we try to acquire more donors. And charities or service delivery charity, you referenced earlier, Lisa, there's really huge demand on these charities, putting massive strain on their resources and services and the capacity. And then I think finally, one I'm hearing a lot from peers and within the sector, it's getting that sign off for investment around future growth, and whether that future growth is technology change, whether it's investing in resource, or even in fundraising, the ability to grow fundraising. So many challenges we face. But I mean, the good news is, as fundraisers, we're resourceful. It's what we do. We respond to these challenges through our great innovative thinking and creative ways of working. We get round things by being more effective and smarter with the resource that we do have. So although there's challenges, I think as fundraisers, I think we're good place to equip ourselves and overcome them.
Completely forward-looking, yeah, absolutely, Lucy, and that echoes what we're also seeing from from speaking with charities and hearing at our webinars and in our podcast, the increasing pressure, but a lot of willingness to learn and to try and to test and to hopefully having some even better results. I don't know, Sophie, you also want to add to some of the conversations you're having.
Again, I have the opportunity with working with lots of different charities, and so I would really echo a lot of what Lucy said. I think one of the other big shifts that we have seen is among the younger generation. So I know we're often all focused on, but we're seeing them being really focused on charitable living versus actually giving pounds, euros, dollars. And so that's the sort of feeling of giving back, right? Which is wonderful. So the type of thing like working for a company that aligns with their values or participating in impact investing, all of which we of course want to encourage. But from a fundraising perspective, let's be totally honest, we need to bring the pounds in, because that's what enables us to deliver the programs to make the impact. And so I think that is one of the other challenges we're seeing, is how do you engage that younger cohorts and keep them moving and bringing those pounds in.
We're going to actually have a session on the new generous generation, the Gen Z. So hopefully that's going to be helpful as well. And hopefully we talked about all these challenges, and one of the common denominator is limited resources, limited time, and limited skills, and human resources. And this is how it looks like artificial intelligence can support. And this is what we're also discussing today. And this is what we thought it'd be good to start by understanding where you and your organizations, people are watching us now, where are you at? And we wanted to run a quick poll. So you will soon see the question appearing on your screen, and we're asking you to take a simple vote. So the first question is your organization using AI technology today? And the results are coming in. So we will run a second question afterwards and then discuss comment. And I know that Sophie, in partnership with Salesforce, you've surveyed quite a lot of non-profits across the world, and understanding a little bit of the use of AI at the moment. So it looks like at the moment, overwhelmingly, quite a majority of our audience are not using AI yet. And the second question, the second poll question, which can hopefully help reinforce that, is do you think that you have the right culture and technology in place to make the best of AI in the future? So whether you are perhaps starting to use it now, do you think your organization can accelerate the use of it? Or if you're not using it at all, do you think your teams in your organization is ready? And at the moment, it's split between no and not sure. So thank you very much, everybody, for sharing your thoughts. I think close to 400 people at the moment answering live. So it's actually quite interesting. It's split. So it's split between no and not sure. I don't know, Sophie or Lucy, if you wanted to, if this is what was echoing what you were seeing, speaking with peers, or hearing from other nonprofits.
Yeah, definitely. It really, sorry, I was fascinated watching them because they were going up and down and just seeing
Yeah,
what.
no, yes, yeah.
And I think you're spot on. So the one in terms of, are you using AI today? I think it sort of landed between 30-40% of yes and 50% no, and the others not sure. And I think that resonates because I think often people are thinking of AI as some of the Gen AI, and which we'll go in and talk about in a little bit more detail. But actually, in reality, so many organizations are using AI at a really basic level. And may not know that they're using AI. And then from the second perspective, the poll in terms of the culture and the leadership being ready is exactly where I'd expect it to land. Can I just check that you can see and hear me okay? Because my screen has frozen.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going
yeah.
to keep going, but bear with me if you can't see me. So yeah, I definitely will echo, and I'll bring up research. Just want to check if Lucy or Lisa want to jump in on that in any more detail, and if not, I will bring up a bit of the research.
Yeah, just to say, it didn't surprise me either, but I think maybe some people just don't know. They could be using it personally, but maybe not
Mhm.
in their workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like you said, Sophie, it's more about maybe the small touches, using,
Yeah.
obviously, not to name it, ChatGPT, to perhaps use you with a few things. And I know we're going to get into that in a minute, but yeah, it might be because it's an ever evolving tech. There's also the fear of not really knowing what, how powerful it can be, and perhaps if it's a little bit biased, but I know we'll delve into that a little bit later. So yeah, Sophie, if you want to.
Wonderful. So apologies, my screen is frozen, but if we can bring up the slides, that would be great.
Yep, sure.
Wonderful. Okay, so like you said, those results probably weren't a surprise to a great number of people, and they really aligned with what our research team found. And that really demonstrated that nonprofits across the board were showing pretty limited AI readiness due to a whole ton of different factors, right? So from the beginning, it was about potential, sort of average data management and governance requirements, and then linked in with insufficient technical infrastructure. So really not having some of those basics to pull it in place. But then, and I think probably top of mind is something that I've heard Lucy talk super eloquently about, is actually all around the people element, right? The trust, the culture, the talent and support, not having all of that in place. And then finally, and I'll bring it back to the pounds, as I will do every time, but that's perceived value and ROI, right? So real just concerns around, is this going to cost a lot? And what is it going to bring me back? So for sure, the poll really resonated with that. So thank you everyone for participating, and really helpful to see. Let's do a bit of level setting though on AI and what we mean by it, because I think everyone does have a different interpretation. So AI in its simplest form is the broad concept of having machines think and act like us, like humans, right? It's the most simple way of doing. But what you're hearing most people talk about today are two different types of AI, which are predictive and generative AI. So two different approaches, each with distinct methodologies and applications. So predictive AI is what we've been doing for a long, long time now, and really focuses on predicting specific outcomes or events based on existing data, and involves using historical data to identify patterns and trends, which are then used to make predictions about future events. So the examples you can see here from a fundraising perspective with predictive are propensity to give, segmentation, campaign results. And then generative AI, on the other hand, focuses on creating new content or data that's not explicitly derived from existing data, but involves generating new content such as images, videos, text or audios that resemble that data, but they're not an exact replica of it. I think really excitingly, both can save a huge amount of time for people. And Gen AI in particular is going to really bring that speed at scale. So from a fundraising perspective, what we want to be able to do is use this capability to take out having to do any hardcore IT in the day job, to work more effectively, to free up from having to do those sort of mundane everyday tasks and focus on the high value areas. I think really importantly, it's not about removing that human element, right? It's about enhancing them. And actually at Dreamforce, which is Salesforce's big conference this year, we had a brilliant speaker who his view for AI was, it's not about replacing people. It's about making people who are already great at their job even more amazing.
Absolutely.
And a final bit here I would just say is that, AI it really does rely on data. It's a really big focus for us, but data is that fuel. And if you have incomplete or inaccurate data, it's going to restrict the ability for what you can do with AI and the vital insights that it can provide. So I would just call attention to data strategy. I will pull out predictive and Gen AI just in a bit more detail, just to bring it to life a bit more in 2 examples. So what you can see here is a nonprofit cloud for fundraising, and this is a donor profile page with a ton of information about that donor. What we have the capability to do today from a predictive perspective is to predict the likelihood of individuals to be either a recurring donor, a major donor, or a lapsed donor. So a real example of predictive AI in use in fundraising today. And then from a generative AI perspective, in nonprofit cloud fundraising, what we're bringing in this year is the ability to create a draft proposal for major donors, foundations, and corporations. Importantly, there's a human element in this, right? So when you generate that proposal, you'll have the option to choose what CRM information you want to use, because you're the person that knows the person best, right? So you may want to include your meeting history and their donation history, but exclude a meeting where you've talked about something different. Because you know that person, you make that decision. Gen AI then creates that proposal for you. But again, it's a draft proposal. It's about removing the white piece of paper, the blank page problem that we all spend a lot of time focusing on. And then later in the year, we'll also be adding things like a summary of a donor. So it's sort of like a donor report that you create for a major gift officer. So hopefully just an example of both predictive and Gen AI that bring that to life for you. And last but not least, and again, I'm hoping you can still hear me because I can't see anything.
Yep, all good.
Just a couple of the common AI terms. We all love technology when it works on the day, right? So I thought this might just be helpful to talk through, because certainly I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed with how many new terms and just knowledge there is out there. So prompts. Prompts are sort of what they say on the tin, right? In the simplest term, they're just the instructions that you give the computer to tell it what to do or what to create. So similar to if you're telling a friend what to draw by giving them a specific idea or theme. And with AI, these prompts will help guide the computer to give you the information or content you're looking for. And then you can see LLMs, and forgive me, but I couldn't fit large language models, if I can say it properly, onto the slide. But these are really the power behind AI. So they're pre-trained with large amounts of data that get smarter over time. And as a result, they can produce new and custom content. Because they're using natural language processing and machine learning capabilities, they respond in a human-like, coherent and relatable way. And finally, trust and security. So trust in AI really refers to trust anywhere, right? So the confidence that both as an individual and an organization we have in the reliability, the integrity and the ethical use of AI systems. So it encompasses things like the accuracy and consistency of the outputs, the transparency of the algorithms, and the ethical considerations and potential biases. And so, for example, at Salesforce, we've actually had an ethical AI practice in place for 6 years, and we build in things like human-in-the-loop frameworks so that customers can always verify what's being created before it goes anywhere. And of course, security in everything is key, and this is all about maintaining secure data access and protecting personally identifiable information. So hopefully just some helpful information to really make sure that we're all talking about AI in the same way. And with that, Lisa, I'll hand back over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sophie. And that was very insightful to get a better understanding of some of these terms, because, some of you may be familiar. You hear of prompts or oh gosh, I forgot the second L in LLM, but you hear about all these terms and you're wondering how this can apply in your day-to-day job. So it was very insightful. Thank you very much. And good to see also the fact that charities are, looking at this and already using it, and actually brings me to the next question to you, Lucy. Can you tell us about how you're using or thinking of using AI in your organization today to solve your fundraising challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd just first like to start by describing how I personally define AI.
Mm.
And when people ask me, I say that AI is simply an efficiency and creative tool applied and used by capable and passionate humans through smart prompts. It's like having limitless expertise and resource at the command of your voice or fingertips. So that's how I describe it. And a bit like Sophie was saying, it helps people to be brilliant. It enhances what we already do. It's not about replacing. So I've got some examples how at AI UK we use it in pockets. Again, we are not experts. We're not pioneering, but we are using it in pockets. So let me give you some examples. So in our creative comms, we'll use ChatGPT, Bard, Claude to support bid and pitch writing within that creative process. So again, what Sophie said, rather than having a blank piece of paper, using the prompts just to start that idea flow and prompt the idea generation. We also use it to help with social media content creation. It really helps in that efficiency. In terms of our design teams, and maybe many of your design teams might be using it too in existing programs like Canva and Photoshop. I personally love Midjourney and Pictory. I think they're really great creative tools. Some other examples are donor targeting and segmentation. Our media agencies and most of yours will be using AI algorithms to analyze vast amounts of donor data, including demographic information, engagement patterns, to ultimately identify segments and patterns for your marketing. We're also using a tool that helps us identify potential high value donors. Within our social, we use Sprout Social that helps suggest with posts, social listening. So it's just really helping us be more effective in what we do and more responsive to what our donors and supporters are saying, are hearing, what they want to know. I've got a really nice example here on our research side. So our research team has been developing workflows that include detailed prompts to generate creative content for something we have called our Impact Hub. And then this content could be easily adapted for social posts because research can be quite complicated. So then we can simplify it and shorten it. So we can put it on our social posts, we can put it within our newsletters. Again, I keep using this word, but ultimately increasing efficiencies and creativity, and summarizing lengthy research papers has been really helpful. If it's okay, I just wanted to give a personal example of how I used it recently. So I took an Aptico report on supporter journeys, which was probably about 20 pages, amazing report. And I used, it was Claude actually at the time, to summarize the key, Bard, to summarize the key points of this document. Then I asked it to put it into script form because my goal was to do a video to communicate to the department, which I did. I then put it in a tool called Pictory, and it created this fantastic film footage to accompany the script. I then could voice over. So instead of sending my department a report or a PowerPoint, it was a lovely visual way to bring the importance of supporter journeys and thanking to life. And as a result, our supporter care team sent me an email the next day saying how powerful the video was and some of the stats. And as a result, they have changed their thanking process in response to that. So I think it's really great when we can use technology in such an engaging way. It creates an impact and it creates change. And then personally, sorry, I am just so passionate about this personally. I hope everyone listening find this interesting, but it's not just work. I used it the other day. I don't know about you guys, but my oven has all these dials. I don't have a clue what it does. So I took a picture and said, well, how do I use my oven? Amazing. My daughter is going on a Spanish exchange, so I actually use it. I've been using it to translate emails to the parents and vice versa. Our kids, I don't know if I should say this or not, but have been using it for their homework because actually I'm trying to get them to use it responsibly and effectively, and to ensure that they're checking, and these tools aren't going away. So I think really, that's really important. They're not going away, and it's about how we use them and how we use them responsibly.
I love the oven one, because I feel like there's a lot on my oven. I have no idea what it does, so I definitely need to take you up on that.
I think everyone can relate to that. But even I'm sorry, I feel like I'm focused on ChatGPT because there's so many tools, but I think it's probably the most basic one we're using.
Yeah,
the ChatGPT 4, this all tools, the new all tools. My husband used it the other night to design himself a new business logo. And I think, the benefits for small charities that don't have big brand budgets that can use these tools to create, and there are loads of tools.
Yeah, so I think I think it's spot on, Lucy. And I was going to say, I love your passion and how you have been embedding it. And it feels like at the moment you're primarily looking at it as an efficiency tool, right? Which I think is where we'll see so many organisations start, and feels like the right way to start, because it lets you sort of go through that trial and error. When you were talking about the thank you ones, I was thinking some of the real magic there is one, getting the thank yous going and making that easier, but then in the long run thinking about using Gen AI to really personalize those, so at hyper scale, right? So going out really broadly but hyper personalized to that individual. And I think that's where we're going to see some real magic happen, but it's going to take us time for sure to get there.
Yeah, and it can be more meaningful interaction. So actually, I think some people think, oh, computer generated be less meaningful. Actually, no, it can be more meaningful, because we can know and see what the donor has done previously and always acknowledge that.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps you, put together all these little nuggets of information that, as a human brain, and sometimes wearing several hats, you tend to forget. And we know how important the donor stewardship and donor journey is, especially now, in a very busy fundraising landscape. So that's the power, that can really help, any charity staff to really do their best when it comes to better fundraising ideas and strategy. So that's really, really interesting. Thank you both. And actually, I know we talked about loads of, and I quite like the impact you brought by summarizing this report and how you were able to share it internally and create change internally. Lucy, what do you think are the key elements that our attendees may find beneficial to get their organization bought into the AI strategy? Because I know there's efficiency, there's impact internally. All of these perhaps would be things that the senior leadership team I'd like to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am very fortunate, and I know I've discussed this with you guys, that our ELT are bought in, and most of them are extremely passionate, as am I. I think this is a good opportunity to cover risk, because I'm sure many people here will be thinking about that. So this is something as a leadership team we have discussed, and we have agreed to take a medium risk appetite to AI. And what this means is that we will encourage the use of AI across a charity, ensuring that we utilise and exploit ultimately the advantage of the technology. But the benefits are balanced with controls to protect AI UK's reputation, which is hugely important, and our employees and our data. So this is all done through having an AI policy, having clear approval of workflows, and the appropriate checks around sort of potential security and privacy risks. So just ensure we take a pragmatic and sensible approach. And being a medium risk appetite for us provides a balanced approach that benefits the organisation and ensures we're meeting our regulatory requirements without putting the charity at sort of unnecessary and avoidable risk. However, I appreciate that not every charity will take this approach, or even there yet. Many organisations are, I'm going to say, rightfully worried about the risk, because if you listen to any of the incredible AI entrepreneurs, inventors, speakers, they talk about the excitement absolutely balanced with the risk. Also, there could be a lack of engagement, as not everyone understands or is willing to embrace sort of new tech and and tools.
Yeah, and I love that you've actually already you've got the medium risk, you have your policy and your governance framework around it. I feel like that's a brilliant approach to take. And I think for sure you're going to have people in other organizations where your leadership team is not going to be as bought in. I came from a non-profit just before, and I would say that I definitely would have faced some of those challenges there. And I think, you know, what I always would try and do in that situation is really understand stakeholders' concern, right? Like, what are they worried about? Engage them early, have the discussion, and then collaborate with them. Because I think when you do that, that's the way of starting to shift mindsets. And it's not always going to happen overnight. But I think, like, again, Lucy, your example of you just doing some things which is not using any, you know, customer data, the risk is super low of like a strategy around something. You can then prove it out to that leadership team in a really small, contained way, and slowly but surely you start to see the mindsets changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think my best advice is education around like what it is, the benefits and the risk is absolutely critical, and to really embrace that learning. But I think also remember, for us all, what we're learning today absolutely will change next week or next month. The progress is so fast. But we can all understand those sort of fundamentals and share with your colleagues. You know, there will be colleagues. There will be colleagues, and share with your colleagues, ask people how they're using it, get top tips, whether people using it for recipes or how to fix your car or find a new platform provider, you know, whatever it is that people are using it for. I think just talk about it, become that AI evangelist and balance the advantages with the risks.
With the risk, yes. And Lucy, as you say, as an AI champion at Alzheimer's Research UK, what excites you about the possibilities of AI for the future of fundraisers?
Yeah, I think it's so exciting. I think firstly, let's go back to who we are as fundraisers who communicate our work to our supporters locally, nationally, even globally. AI tools could support our efforts to better share what we do, why we do it, and the impact it's having more effectively. It can help us get better opt-in across our various channels and communicate people. I come back to what I said, in a more meaningful and effective way. It can also help us create imaginative campaigns to attract more donors, more funding. So smaller charities won't need to pay, I think I said this before, huge agency fees. They'll be able to do so much more themselves. And the good news is, AI is available to us all. It's not restricted by expertise or budget. ChatGPT currently has an IQ of 100. Einstein was 160. It's predicted to get to 1,000, which is just so hard, I think, for us to even comprehend.
I know.
How can you comprehend that? But it's insane how powerful it is. But I think there's some things, I think, like I said, we can all do and our organisations can do. And firstly, I've put here around, let's reframe our thinking around AI, understand how AI will disrupt, and identify, I think, two things: our vulnerabilities and the opportunities. Find the AI tools that will be most beneficial to you and your organisation, and master them. And I think, finally, simply, I guess, from speeding up tasks like summarizing lengthy documents and content, improving digital marketing, as Sophie said, when we do explore more into the data, sparking ideas for new product development. We just see so many opportunities and how the tools can support our work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it sounds, like you said, the opportunities are so vast, and whichever level you want AI to help you, it can be very basic, like subject lines, for an email, but it can go all the way to more complex prompts, and that will, that will evolve with also the learning you require as an AI evangelist, and how much, learnings and things you provide to your organization for everyone to learn. And obviously, Lucy, as you mentioned your experience using AI and all the possibilities you're envisioning this to help your team, what would you say are maybe 3 top practical tips for getting started? Because I know many of our audience members might be like, oh yeah, it's so vast. I know I've seen already some questions about the tools and so what practical tips that you would give to our audience today?
Yeah, I'd love to start with a quote that I think is really powerful. So Imad Mustique from Stability AI says this: embrace AI with all your might, all your curiosity, and you can change the world. And that feels so powerful and really relevant to us as fundraisers that really do work for causes where we want to change the world. We want a step change. So in terms of advice, I would say make yourself an internal champion, watch AI content, read, subscribe to sort of like daily updates because the pace is fast. Find allies in your organization, as it said. And sorry, I think I'm going 4 now. Use it, play and learn, have fun with it, create a piece of artwork, make a video, have fun. So then you're not sort of outside work, you're actually getting more familiar with the tools and what they can do. But as I said, as non-profits, we are great at innovating. So I think let's embrace AI and help us to spark ideas and use our time and resource better so we can reach more people and do more good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make it 5 if I can. These,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just the other one I would say is just remember data strategy. As I said, data is really the fuel that underlies this. So data strategy is going to be really foundational to success here. So sorry, 5th one from me.
Oh, absolutely. That's really interesting, because I was also seeing in some of the comments, data and having a data strategy is will also help you, because the AI tools and the AI elements will help you accelerate the way you use your data. We know as charities, we have so much data. We have our donors, our beneficiaries' data, everything in between, our stakeholders, and we need that data to place bids, to report impact, and to generate even better fundraising results and better engagement journeys. So data is very important. Obviously, AI can help you, with the data element. Obviously, let's name it again. ChatGPT can help you with that. But I think it's also very important to understand internally what you want to achieve with your data first, and then how perhaps AI can help you accelerate that. I don't know what you both think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's spot on. I was thinking about this last night because I'm using ChatGPT all the time, right? And I'm using that for like strategy questions or just like prompting myself to think it through. The piece where I think you need to think about using more in-house tools are when you are properly using your customer data, right? So, and this is a personal perspective, but I wouldn't go near putting anything outside of the walls of my organization on that front. And so that as well is going to be where you want to use your tools, your technology, and you have your underlying data to connect it all together. And as well, that's when you are able to do things at scale. So I think there was a question on how do you, I'm sorry, my screen freezes in and out, so I can see part of it, on how you identify high value donors and to do that. Now, obviously, you're not going to want to put your donor base anywhere outside of your internal system, And so you're going to be looking at, okay, like how are we using Gen and predictive AI internally to do that? And I think that's a really important consideration.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you so much both. Oh, sorry, Lucy, you wanted to add.
No, I just said that balance of risks when using the tools, understand how to utilize them properly, ensure that sort of factual accuracy, ethical usage. There's a lot to think about. And I would say, we are not there yet. We are absolutely using an efficiency and creative tool, absolutely exploring the basics. And I think it's really exciting. As we go live with Salesforce, and then the benefits of what the system will have and what it can do in future could be incredible.
Incredible. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, actually it's a good point, because I know perhaps many of our audience might have some ethical concerns or questions, which is absolutely fine. And like you said, it's an ever evolving world, and yes, you need to weekly subscription in order to keep pace with what's going on. At Charity Digital, we have we have created some content to help you navigate AI and ethics. So we'll add that to our resources, and you'll be able to access that on our website. But we've done a couple of articles and podcasts on AI, the potential, but also the consideration, ethical and risk consideration. I think these can go both hand in hand, so long as you link it back to your mission and to what you want to achieve. I think that's also a very good start. But yeah, well, thank you very much to both of you. It's been extremely insightful, and I know that there's already quite a lot of questions in the Q&A section. So let's dive straight in, shall we?
Sounds good.
Brilliant. So I will start with with the first one, which is more around, like we said, the ethical considerations or worry. So somebody is asking, why would anyone, let alone a charity, trust a technology that can possibly run out of control because it's self-learning? So it might be some objections that some of our attendees might come across speaking with the senior leadership team. So what could we help them with? How could we answer to this kind of objections, do you think? Perhaps Sophie?
I think that it's totally valid, right? And the point, this is new technology and we're learning as we go, and so those concerns are valid and we shouldn't pretend they're not there. But I think it's doing what Lucy described, right? Like discussing it and agreeing your risk appetite. But then also it's considering the tools you want to use for different things. So obviously I can speak most about Salesforce because that's where I'm from and not some of the other tools. But for us, trust, actually, outside of AI, trust is our number one value. Always has been, always will be. And we really are using that as a central tenet on how we're thinking about AI. So, for example, we're really clear that our customers' data is not our product. Our customers' data is only our customers' data. They have control, they have privacy, and we do things like built-in security so that we make sure that it's accurate and safe. So I think it's really making sure you understand what tools you're using to generate things with, who you're working with, and making sure that you ethically agree with them and that your principles are aligned. So it's thinking through all of those elements.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucy, I don't know if you wanted to add to that. And I know your senior leadership team is quite open, but maybe you've spoken with peers that are having similar challenges when it comes to...
Yeah, there's a difference between being open and risk averse. It's not some gun-ho, it's been really considered. And I think the key thing is change is inevitable, and at this speed it is risky, but especially if we're not paying attention. I think the key thing is we have got to pay attention, because whether we're doing it within our organization, it's happening around us. It's happening like to us in terms of AI and tech, and we need to learn. Even whether we're doing it or not, we need to learn and we need to understand. So I think my advice definitely comes back to that. Know what you're talking about, understand the level of I think, like I said, where are the vulnerabilities and where are the opportunities, and going with your eyes open. We've still got a lot we've absolutely still got a lot to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have great systems, ultimately, and work with have great CRM systems that you and people that you trust.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, well, thank you both for these. For these, I'll continue because we have quite a lot. So somebody else has asked, do you predict that AI will have an impact on jobs in fundraising, especially perhaps more junior roles whose tasks could be covered by tech? I don't know who wants to take that. Perhaps Lucy, working with a fundraising team.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. And I think, no, don't panic, everyone. There are not going to be, machines coming to take your jobs. actually this makes you brilliant at your job. Like someone like me who's a dyslexic thinker, I love the creativity. Like it could take me ages to try and write something. It doesn't mean it'd be written bad. It would just take me a long time. Whereas these tools are helping me to work quicker, work smarter, work more effectively, and ultimately inspire me. So I don't think it's about replacing people's jobs. That said, I think jobs could look different. There will be a level of automation. So it might be about us adapting our jobs and doing things differently. Nothing stays the same, does it? That we always have to iterate and change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think perhaps from a junior member of staff perspective, it can actually enable them to spend more time in creativity or spend more time upskilling even more quickly, because the sort of more mundane tasks are done by the machine, and they can concentrate on things even more meaningful as part of their role. So maybe actually quite the opposite.
I think so. It's like having your own. It's like having your own PA. Like actually, how can I? Let's be smart with it.
I know, definitely. And another question for you, Lucy. Was the AI tool you're using for donor targeting and segmentation? And I think as a broader question, I'm collecting a few of these. If both you and Sophie wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit more about the tools and what they can be used for. I know we mentioned quite a few. So Lucy, if you want to start with that.
Yeah, so actually just what I was referring to was more sort of our marketing agencies when they're using Meta or going out on advertising, as opposed to us using a tool that's targeting people. So sorry if there's any confusion there.
Gotcha.
So we are not, let me just iterate, we are not using donor data to do any AI tools at all. We are not there. We're not doing that.
Not the intention. No.
Maybe worth just adding from a Salesforce perspective. So that non-profit cloud that I brought up and the fundraising examples, that's a real system, right? So within Salesforce, you can use those tools to do exactly that, segmentation and targeting donors, all of those areas. So, depending on the setup you have, that would be directly within Salesforce. So that's why we're bringing predictive and Gen AI into those tools. A fully safe, secure and trusted architecture around it.
Yeah,
and that's exciting for us as we go live with Salesforce next month, that there are these tools that can help us better use our data and ultimately serve our supporters with what they want to hear and what they want to do. They're passionate about our causes, not just banked and thanked or given a one-off donation. They want to hear from us. They want to know the change we're having, the impact we're making. So let us use our data in a better way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you mentioned obviously the use of data being obviously very, very important and have it in the environment which is secure. So do you have any thoughts on using anonymized data on external platforms to use predictive AI? That's Ria asking that question.
So again, personal perspective, I'd be really cautious on that front. Anonymized data, you'll often do masking and different things. Different systems can interpret that in different ways. My perspective would be anything with any form of personally identifiable information needs to stay within the system. You need to have really clear data governance and regulations around that. You're just going to, breach individual things. There's tons of regulations that you don't want to do. And I think it's just worth saying from a data perspective, I think about it in two ways. You need to think both about your data strategy, so your business plans for your data. And then the second side is actually the infrastructure. So making sure that you have the infrastructure in place to support that. So just worth considering both of those elements.
Absolutely, So it's a very important consideration, and absolutely take time to discuss internally to have all the framework in place and use things that are trustworthy. And possibly a question for you, Lucy. Can you list or share some of the best AI learning resources available?
Can I best share? Well, yes, I'm sure you guys, Charity Digital, are going to send you some of the cool resources. I've just seen a question around the video creator tool. It's am I all right to name tools? I'm just thinking I'm just naming all these tools. It's called Pictory, and it's just brilliant. It's so easy. So yeah, I use that. I also subscribe to something called Rundown AI, which is a daily update on what's going on in the world of AI. So that's really cool. It's a 3-minute read. So I find that really useful, keeping me up to date on everything that's happening. So, but yeah, I'm sure if I don't know, our sort of forum, how we can share more tools, then that's something we can look at.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. We can add that into the live chat or make that available after. That's no problem, because there's quite a lot out there.
There's so many, and I think I think that's the only thing I'd say. There's so many, and it's what works for you. Because again, caveat: no expert here. I'm just someone that's embracing the learning. You guys, I'm sure, will have tools and that you use that we'd love to hear about, but there are a lot. So yeah, I think people need to kind of do some of their homework.
Yes. Pop them in the live chat if there are some. Obviously, there's ChatGPT being probably the most famous, but there's also Bard, I think, the equivalent, Victory and
Midjourney.
Midjourney as well is another
wonderful
one.
I think my husband said, "Oh, look at this! I've created a cute snail," and I'm like, "Why would you do that?" But hence, that's all part of the playing and embracing the learning. ChatGPT 4, like all tools, is pretty insane, to be fair, like as a place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, great. I mean, thank you very much both for your time this morning. This is all we've got time for today. So thank you, Lucy and Sophie, for your insight. I know Lucy has to perhaps dash to attend some other meetings, so I'm not sure whether you'll be available to answer any more questions on the networking bit. But if you are, then I'm sure people will come to you. And Sophie, I think you were able to stay a little bit longer today?
I can stay for a little bit longer, yeah.
Very super.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, thank you very much both. We hope you have enjoyed speaking as well, because it's the most important.
Loved it.
I hope you've enjoyed it. And we hope that all our attendees have found this chat inspiring, and hopefully this will help them help you accelerate your use of AI within your organization. So thank you both for joining.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you, Sophie. Loved it. Thank you all. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you very much, both. That's great. So back to you, our dear listeners. You can rate the session by selecting the stars underneath the session title. And like I said, the session will be available on demand by the end of the week, and will be available on this platform for the next 30 days. Our next session is going to be starting at 10:45. We'll be joined by Jonathan Tan, who is the CEO of Greater Change Charity, and also one of our trustees at Charity Digital. It's going to be a very insightful session about the must-have digital tools for small charities. In the meantime, feel free to take a comfort break. Rest your eyes, make a cup of tea, coffee, glass of water. We're looking forward to seeing you again at 10:45. Once you've taken your comfort break, you can join us in our networking area. That's the little armchair icon at the top, where you can chat with your peers, ask questions to our speakers. You can head over to the partners section to discover more resources from our partners, as well as our own very own Charity Digital virtual booth. Obviously, we just had a very insightful session on AI from Salesforce, so they have a great booth that you can check out. Don't forget to share your thoughts, what you thought about this session with us on social media using the hashtag Charity Digital Summit on X or LinkedIn. We'd like to thank every one of you for joining today. And we are hoping that you will really enjoy the rest of the day. So see you again at 10:45.